All right, Serious and Silliness Outcast. We have a great interview. I have Tori with me today, and Tori is going to talk about her life story and her experience as an escort or sex worker. What's up, Tori? How you feeling?
Oh, all right. How about
Yeah,
yourself?
doing well, doing well. So, did you grow up in Utah, Salt Lake City?
I did, yes, born and raised.
Okay. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your childhood? Not too many people know about Utah, except if you're Mormon.
Yeah, my childhood was not Mormon at all. I was pretty, it was like a good childhood, average childhood. Um, there's nothing about my childhood I would say that led me to do what I do. Um, but well, I guess there is if you like look at it that way. My dad, he just worked a lot. He wasn't really there, and
Were your
they
parents
got
together?
what?
Were your parents together?
Yeah, like very unhappily until I was like 12 or so, and then they got divorced,
Okay.
and it was just like, oh, thank God, finally.
So your dad was your dad active in your life after the age of 12?
No.
Okay.
Well,
So
financially, it's the weirdest thing with my with my dad because he's always been financially like well until I was an adult,
yeah.
which is so ironic. But like he paid for my boob job when I was 15
Yeah,
and like
that's
but he like wouldn't ever talk to me type shit.
how did you
It's just weird.
how did that happen? How does somebody's father pay for their boo job?
Right?
Because that's like basically sexualizing your own daughter. It's kind of strange.
I yeah, it is kind of weird. But I think I manipulated him into it
Oh,
in a fucked up way. I because I was really like I was tall and I was like I had really tiny boobs and I was like I fucking need this and anything that I needed he would fucking make happen. But
I
like
see. I see. So if
I
he wasn't there, he tried to fill the void with money and
Yeah, very
okay,
much so. Like
that makes sense.
very much so. Like, but yet I can't get like a fucking like, how are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, what about your mom? How was your mom as a growing up?
Um, my mom's always been like my best friend, always. Um, yeah, she just doesn't. Growing up, yeah, we were like inseparable, like almost too close to like be considered probably healthy.
Yeah, that does
And
happen. That does happen.
yeah, and and yeah, and it sucks because now
How old was your
it's just
mom when she had
completely
you?
strange. She was 29
Oh,
when she
okay.
had me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, my mom's a very responsible. She does things how she's supposed to. She's either been married, and when she hasn't been married, she's worked like a 9 to 5. You know,
Mhm.
so she plays by the rules 100% all the time.
How is your relationship with your dad today?
Awful.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm basically just demonized, and I'm not even like allowed in his house type shit because of what I do. So,
And what about your relationship with your mom?
she's always been like by my side through everything.
Okay.
And yeah, but mine's a little bit of a different, like, it's hard because I had a pimp who got me into everything, you know?
Well, we'll get to that. Let's tell me what kind of person Tori was after the age of 12, once you got to middle school and high school, your teenage years.
After my parents got divorced, I kind of said, we've done the fuck it road. Um, I started going to raves a lot, and then that led to just more drugs and more drugs.
So basically high
Yeah.
school was partying, drugs, alcohol.
Yeah, I didn't have any rules like whatsoever. Like it's like I was begging for a curfew and I never got one.
No structure, no structure. Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of drugs were you into as a kid?
Um, it just started out with ecstasy when I was like 14, and then when I was 16, I got into opiates pretty bad.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Mostly,
it was bad.
mostly prescription drugs, opiates.
That's what it started with, but I started doing heroin by the time I was like 17.
Wow. Okay. Were you
Yeah.
snorting it or injecting it or both?
Injecting it, and I did that for a good like 8, 9 years or so.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was a dark path.
What age was that now? So from high school to what age were you into heroin?
um, Heroin probably until I was off and on until 27.
Okay. All right. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
I am 30.
Okay. All right. And you've been
Yeah,
clean and sober?
as much as I can be. Yes, for the most part, yes. It's hard sometimes, but yes, for the most part.
Okay. All right, good. So what led you to start escorting? Was it the to pay for the drugs?
No, actually, I worked in a strip club. I was a cocktail waitress,
Hmm.
and I just always worked as a cocktail waitress instead of a dancer because I made more money like conversating with people rather than,
Yeah.
and it was like really tiring work dancing. Like I've done that too,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it was like the money was pretty much the same for me. And it's like that shit is really hard to do for hours on end.
Yeah, right.
And especially in Utah, you don't make shit dancing at a club. So yeah, I met this guy, and he knew what situation I was in, and um, which was like at this time, like my son's dad had just gotten sentenced 15 to life in prison.
Well, let's actually back up a little bit so we could stay on track. How old were
It
you?
just like
How old were you when you met your son's dad?
okay. I was 18.
18.
He was
And
actually my drug dealer.
okay, okay. So, all right. And how old is your son now?
He he is 7.
Okay. Does he live with you?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So you're working in a strip club. Your son's dad goes to prison for a very long time. I'm assuming on a drug charge.
No, he actually kidnapped some people over a drug
Okay.
thing, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So not a nice person, basically.
He actually is a really nice person. So it's like it kind of he was only 19 years old when like he got that sentence, and so it was really hard to swallow because he really didn't deserve it.
He kidnapped somebody for a drug charge, but he's a nice person and didn't deserve it. Try to unpack that for me.
Well, so his co-defendant was at his house, and he walked in, like this is all on paper, you could look it up. He walked into his house, and his co-defendant had these people at gunpoint, and he just kind of like went along with it per se. And no, that doesn't make you a great person and all that shit, but what happened at court was his co-defendant said that he had like that my son's dad had him at gunpoint, and making him have other people kidnapped, which is totally not how anything went down. And he got out that day of court just for like lying like that. So
Okay.
it was just, yeah.
Okay. So your son's dad is in prison now, and then you're working at a strip club as a cocktail waitress.
Yep.
Okay. So go ahead, continue.
Um, yeah, and then I guess so I just met someone who seemed to be interested in my life, and that would kind of seem to be like vulnerabilities, I guess, to some.
Mhm.
And yeah, and that's how I was introduced into sex work. I
So how did
yeah,
you meet this?
I
How
was
did you meet this person?
manipulated at the strip club.
Okay. He was a customer.
Yeah, you could call it that. But he wasn't. He was. Yeah, everybody knew he was a pimp except me, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How did he? Everybody knows um, manipulation and pimps go hand in hand. How did he? How old were you at the time, and how did he convince you to come work for him?
I was 22. Sorry, can we take like a pause real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Sure. Yeah.
just one second.
We don't have to continue. We could, you know,
I know it just sucks because I really do want this story out there because it's like it all
take
ended up really fucked
take your
up.
time. Take all the time you need.
Okay, where were we?
Um, you were 22. You were working in the strip club,
Oh, and
and
how
how he manipulated you, and how did he convince you to come work for him?
um he didn't even have to do that really, like it just like oh like to this day I still 100% others say I'm brainwashed. um I just say I'm loyal, but yeah, it's just because I still don't think he did anything wrong because he took me out of like I was super addicted to drugs and he took me and he got me clean in Vegas. And that's how he got me to be like because nobody in my family would ever do that for me.
Yeah, that's manipulation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it felt like love.
Of course it did. Yeah. Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah. And like still to this day, I'm like convinced it was because it had to be in or else. Why would he do that? And then it's like, oh yeah, because he got all my money. It's fucked up.
Right. Is he still active in your life?
No, he's in prison because of me.
Okay. He's in prison. Say that again.
Because of me.
Okay. Can
Not
you?
because of me, because of my mother. I would
Oh,
do anything to get him out of prison. And I don't know, like, uh, my head's still fucked up,
okay. I understand.
I guess you could say.
So, so how did your mom get him arrested?
It just became obvious that, like he'd come over at night, like after I said it was like 2, 3 in the morning every single night, and he was pretty like nonchalant about his pimpness. Like he drove a Cadillac, he fucking like all the fucking what do you can't even
Very,
think of the right word.
very
All the
typical.
yeah, typical, or what's it called? Like stereotypical. There we go.
Yeah, yeah.
Stereotypical
Okay.
pimp things. Like he kind of did that, so he made
Mm.
it kind of obvious. And yeah, and I was still living in my mom's house, and she let it go on for like 4 or 5 years before she ever called the cops about it.
So,
And they,
so
yeah,
you were living with your mom, and he would come over every night, like to be with you, or would you, or
it was
working for
after I
him?
worked.
Ah, okay.
It was after I
And
worked.
did you work from home or you worked elsewhere?
No, no, I didn't work from home. I fucking went to every city on this, you know, on the in the country, and I worked all over,
Okay.
all the time, every day.
So explain how that works. You said you've been to every city. Explain how
Um,
that works.
I would just travel, and just like either freestyle escort or um, you know, escort like by walking or just I've done like every type of escort there is, I guess you could say.
Okay. And he was basically, he was giving you uh time and places to be, and who to meet.
No, I did that on myself.
Ah, okay. So what was his role as your pimp then?
Um, Nothing at all except for just accepting me. And I mean, teaching me how to do it all.
Okay. Um,
Like I didn't know
did he
anything
have
about that
was
shit.
was there ever a problem with somebody paying you or somebody
He was
getting,
never there.
he was never there. So the guy was, so that was okay. Did he ever put hands on you?
Um, I won't answer that one.
No problem, not a problem. So go into how you did your mom figure out what you were doing?
She just she called the cops or whatever because she was like, I think a pimp is fucking pimping out my daughter. That's kind of
Hmm.
a red flag.
Right.
5 years later. And yeah, and then it was like a 22-month investigation um on me and everything about me. And I ended up getting arrested for human trafficking.
Human trafficking.
Yeah.
Unpack that for me, please.
So, like I would get like no, I wouldn't get girls. Like that makes me sound like such a predator. Like girls would ask me to work, you know what I mean, and show them how to work and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, like they did know that 100% of the proceeds did go to him. That was never forced by me. That was never like it was like a like if you want to, if you don't, you know what I mean. It really was like never a violent or anything like that. And I drove, and now I look back and I get why I drove all the time and stuff. Like, because that makes me the one that's responsible for it. But yeah, like we took this girl to Vegas, and we had the intentions of doing prostitution there, however you would verbalize that. And
Oh, I see. So it's because it's cross state lines, it's considered human trafficking with somebody else. I see. So you pick somebody
yeah,
up, you okay, I see how it works. Okay.
but it's like I didn't just like pick somebody up. It's like it was really just like things people do all the time. You know what I mean?
So he was basically convincing you to do all the dirty work.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, okay. And then how often would you do these kinds of things with the girls where you would bring them to out of state or other cities and whatnot?
Um, it was mostly just me that went to the other cities. I mean, there was one or two girls that I traveled with, but like he had all sorts of other ones
Okay.
all over.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, so I it was that one time, and they
Okay.
arrested me for that
All right.
one
So
time.
your mom called the cops. She said, I think this person is taking advantage of my daughter. He is a pimp, and they did this investigation and they charged you with human trafficking.
Yeah.
Did you get any other charges?
Nope.
Okay.
Just that one, which was pretty surprising to
And
hear
yeah,
right in front of my son
I
as
could
they're closing out my
imagine.
front door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old was your son at the time?
He was, let's see, 4.
All right. So he was 4. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you get arrested, and how do you get around this? How do you deal with it?
So, they this is the part that like fucks me up most because so they take me to the police station and all that to question me, and it's like it's the feds, so they're like really good at what they do.
Of course. Yeah.
And I had never been interrogated before, and I sat in silence for 8 hours, and I said I wanted a lawyer, and they told me that my lawyer that I had retained was what's it called when it's like like when two co-defendants have the same lawyer, they'll say it's
A contradiction.
not a contradiction, but like it's like and that he can't be your lawyer because,
He's already somebody else's, right? He's already his lawyer. Okay.
but it wasn't that though. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the fucking word.
That's okay.
Um, but it was bullshit. Like
Right, right, right.
they pulled a card that just wasn't even true.
Yeah.
They said that it was oh my god, I have to think of it for it to make sense. Um, um,
It's
Going
fine.
into all this,
We could skip it.
my
It's fine.
brain is just.
It's fine.
I
It's fine. We could skip it. So
don't. That's the part that I can't skip though.
no, no, no. I
For
mean,
me,
skipping the part about the lawyer. We can continue what the word is
well,
for. We
just
can
because
continue.
it's really fucked up what like they did because they told me that um oh my god, I almost just had it on my mind. Sorry, what
It's
it
okay.
was. What the fuck is the word? Like when like when they say it's when they say it's like too close to like be in the case, so they say it's you can't think of what I'm thinking of.
I understand what you're saying. I don't know the proper terminology, but we get don't worry about the
Okay.
terminology. You can just continue with the story.
Okay. Um well, I feel like this like isn't even coming out right because I don't know. It's just like my
Well, let me try to help. So you're in custody. You're there for 8 hours. They say you want a lawyer. That you can't have one because of whatever legalities they throw at you. So then where do you go from there?
um and then I call another lawyer, like random lawyer that obviously would have been just fine. And then they told me that like I haven't retained him, and I was like, okay, yeah, I haven't retained him. Like they wouldn't let me speak to a lawyer.
Right, right, right.
End of story. And then So they had me there for 12 hours at this point, and then they told me that, because I did not even know that coercion was against the law in like human trafficking. Like he had told me before that like another girl's parents had tried to call the police on him, and everything was cool and fine because she said like, like he's not forcing me. I'm doing this on my own.
Okay.
And so I thought that's what it was. I thought that as long as I was okay with it, that it was good, okay, and like everything was legal. And yeah, it so they convinced me of like basically my I'm asking them those questions like, is that legal?
Mhm.
And then they just lie so much, federal investigators.
So
And
what were they trying to get at? Were they were trying to get at him through you?
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah, okay. That's what I want to get at.
And I
So
wasn't
so what did they
trying
propose
to
to
do
you?
that.
I see.
um
Okay.
yeah, and that's why, yeah, if I would have, yeah, I would have walked out in 30 seconds if I would have just said what they wanted me to say.
Hmm.
And then they finally, like, I was ready to go to federal prison, they said. I don't think they really could have thrown me in there, but well, they could have, because yeah, I died. They could have. But they eventually convinced me to sign over my phone because they realized that that's the only thing that they were gonna be able to convince me to do, because they were like, oh yeah, if you are all okay with what is going on, then no harm, no foul type shit. And they convinced me that that's what it was, and that's just not what the law was at all.
So how did they how did they finally get him? How did they finally arrest him through you?
With me sitting in the fucking investigation place, and them knowing that me not answering my phone for an hour or two was going to make him show up at my house, and they were there.
Ah, okay, okay. And did they
Yeah.
have what kind, do you know if they had evidence on him about what he was doing with you and the other girls?
Yeah, I mean, they'd been watching us for 22 months, so
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
yeah, like tracking our cars and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, apparently they had a different way they were going to go about it, but that day he had actually found the tracker on his car,
Mm, okay,
and then all of a sudden I was getting arrested. So
okay. And he's in prison right now.
mhm.
Do you still stay in touch with him?
I fucking wish,
Why
but
do
no,
you?
because I feel like I'm sorry for it. I feel like it's my fault.
Well, let me try to relieve you a little bit. It's not your fault. I mean, if it wasn't going to be you, it was going to be somebody else. This person was not going to retire a pimp. He was, sooner or later he was going to get arrested, and whether it was you or somebody else, it was inevitable.
Yeah,
He wasn't going to have a lucrative future. So
I mean,
it's I know you
he
I
got a
know.
lucrative fucking gaining out of me. You know what I mean? Like he got at least probably like $900,000 somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just sucks. I was left with fucking $50 in my pocket,
Mhm.
and he was gone. And he was like my dad. He was like my family. He was like my everything. And it was all my fault. He was arrested. And so I've been pretty like fucked up ever since then.
um all right, so now
You're like, bitch,
he
you need professional help.
Well, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But um um so how long has he been in prison for now?
Since August 22nd, 2021.
Okay, and how long does he have?
Thanks to me, he only has he gets out on November 5th, 2025.
Okay. Um,
Or 15th.
okay. So how are you handling yourself now that you're on your own without him?
I I'd be okay if it wasn't for like the guilt, just like guilt. But I actually made it so that like I wrote so many letters. I wrote so much shit. I said I'd be his own, I said I'd be the character witness on his case. So they only gave him 6 months for me. And so the time that he's doing is really just for the guns and weed they found in his house.
Okay. So he got arrested, but the charges were for drugs and firearms.
Well, human trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking. I don't remember which one they labeled it as, but
Mm.
yeah, and then like he had pounds of marijuana, and then he had a gun in that situation, and then that's a whole other charge on top of that
I know it's
one.
difficult. I know it's difficult to digest, but this, you know, I'm trying to stay. I'm usually I usually I stay neutral, but I know this is hard to digest for you, but he was going to go to jail no matter what. It does not have anything to do with you. This was not a
Yeah,
good person. This was a person that preyed on young, vulnerable women, and he was also involved with firearms and drugs. So even if you weren't around, he would have been in prison. I mean, I know it's difficult, but you should have zero guilt over this. But
and it's crazy because
I
he put me
apologize.
in so many situations.
Usually I
No, it's
hold
okay.
I hold my opinion, but I have a very weak point for young women that are taken advantage of. It is very difficult for me to see that happen.
Yeah,
Because that just so when I see somebody taking advantage of somebody like that, it really bothers me because women are supposed to be protected. They're not supposed to be taken advantage of.
I don't think I let it hit. Like it really was fucked up because I mean he's 55. No,
Right.
like he's like an old school like San Francisco like pimp,
Right.
and like and yeah, I was 22, and then yeah, it's just like when you look at it, it's like damn, that's gross and like fucked up and like what the fuck? But like I still have all these fucked up. Like he really brainwashed me. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's like okay, so now he's in prison. You're on your own. What are you doing with yourself? You're basically clean and sober, right? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing with yourself to make a living, to keep yourself busy, to take care of your son? Let's hear some positive feedback.
Uh, positive feedback.
Because I mean, you basically told me
I know.
you're sober. He's in prison, so he's not in your way. You have a 7-year-old son who's healthy and with you. So I mean, these are all good things.
And now I just have this other relationship I've been in since the day he got arrested. And it's, I don't know. I guess I'm codependent.
Another relationship. How so?
It's just a regular one. No,
Okay.
no pimping involved this
Okay.
time.
Okay. Uh, what does he
But
do for a living?
um, go to prison.
Okay, so he's is
I'm
he
so
in?
sorry. Like I wish I had something positive to
No,
fucking
no, no, no,
say.
no. It's fine. It's fine. Is he in
Uh,
prison or he's out of prison now?
he just got out last month.
Hmm. Okay. And what was he in prison for?
Fraud. Yeah, just lots of fraud. He made fake money
Okay. All right.
and yeah, all sorts of fraudulent activities.
Okay. And is he on the straight and narrow or he's still involved with this kind of thing?
No, he's on the straight and narrow now, but like just with being on parole, it can be so hard
Mm.
to live on parole standards. And yeah, actually, it's like this is probably like a bad time for a positive interview just because like yesterday I got woke up by police and they took him again. So yeah, I just had a whole bunch of people go in and out of my life because of prison, especially. And
So what did they arrest him for this time? He violated his parole or it was something else?
they just they made him go to rehab because he fucked up already by the time he had been out.
So rehab. So what kind of drugs was he into?
I guess I just got to be like all the way honest. I'm gonna be honest here. Fentanyl, like fentanyl, yeah, fentanyl is has pretty much taken over my life.
Okay, so you're not clean.
No, I'm not
All right.
clean. Who am I kidding?
Okay. All right.
I wish I was clean.
Sure, of course. Are there any have you been thinking about maybe taking any steps? Oh, mm,
Ah, fuck.
there we go. I got you.
I keep fucking pressing that button. My bad.
It's okay. So
Um,
have you been taking any steps maybe?
yeah,
Or
because like right now I like fucking have to because yeah, I was like because now it's basically all on me if my life doesn't like work out.
mm,
And it's kind of just like all been spotlighted that it's like my drug addiction is the problem of like my family right now because my son calls my boyfriend dad and that's the only dad he's ever known and it's fucked up because it's hard for me to work sober and it's hard for me to live without making as much money as I do because of just everything I've put on myself. So I feel like I'm just in this fucked up circle that I can't get out of. There's got to be a way out somehow, but having so
um
many responsibilities is like daunting.
let's uh let's end this interview and I'm going to talk to you off camera. All right.